In the vibrant, ever-evolving streets of 1930s Tokyo, where life, commerce, and the allure of modernity intersected, an ominous shadow began to stir. What started as a subtle threat would soon grow into a dark veil, covering the entire nation in its sinister grip. This is the true story of a heartbreaking crime, a psychopathic obsession, and a woman driven to the edge by a society that shaped her. It is the story of Sada Abe, a geisha whose name would become synonymous with obsession, violence, and one of the most infamous crimes in Japan's history. Sada Abe was born in 1905 during Japan's Meiji era, a time when the country was caught between old traditions and new Western ways. While Japan was moving forward, Sada's life was trapped in the chaos of her troubled family. In a wealthy but dysfunctional Tokyo home, Sada's early life was far from stable. Her father, Shigeyoshi Abe, was a strict businessman who couldn't control his rebellious children, and her mother, Katsu Abe, was more focused on keeping up appearances than on guiding her children. From a young age, Sada challenged authority and defied her parents. But it wasn't just their lack of control that shaped her. It was the bad example set by her older siblings. Her brother was a notorious playboy, and her sister was caught up in scandalous affairs. This early exposure to adult vices twisted Sada's understanding of right and wrong. Studies show that a lack of proper guidance can lead to serious problems. For Sada Abe, the absence of a stable, loving environment was not just a backdrop. It was the catalyst that steered her down a dark and perilous path. A path that would lead her to commit an infamous crime, forever altering the course of her life and shaking Japanese society to its core. As we delve into Sada Abe's story, we uncover how the seeds of her tragic fate were sown in the heart of a fractured family. This is not just a tale of crime, it's a stark reminder of how neglect and turmoil can shape a life in the most devastating ways. In 1922, when Sada Abe was just 17, her life took a devastating turn. Her parents, unable to control her rebellious ways, made a heart-wrenching decision. They sold her to a geisha house, a grim solution for girls deemed problematic. Thrust into this world, Sada was woefully unprepared. She had neither the skills nor the inclination to become the traditional geisha, who charmed men with the delicate art of playing the lute. Instead, she was cast into the bottom rung of geishas, where her role was far more explicit and degrading. Imagine a young woman, once full of rebellious spirit, now reduced to a life of exploitation and humiliation. After contracting syphilis, Sada's path took an even darker turn. Stay tuned as we unravel how these harrowing experiences shaped the notorious figure of Sada Abe and the chilling crime that would later shock the nation. By the early 1930s, Sada had transitioned from a geisha to a sex worker. Forced to flee from one brothel to another, Sada's existence became a relentless cycle of instability and desperation. Each new location offered no solace, only a fleeting hope for a fresh start that never came. In 1936, Sada Abe's life was about to take a fateful and dramatic turn. Enter Kichizo Ishida, a charismatic yet infamous womanizer who owned a bustling restaurant where Sada had sought refuge after trying to escape her tumultuous life as a sex worker. He was a man who would soon become both her lover and, in a chilling twist of fate, her victim. Imagine the collision of two troubled lives: Sada Abe, haunted by a past of betrayal and exploitation, and Kichizo Ishida, a handsome and influential businessman known for his seductive charm and disregard for propriety. Despite being a married man and a devoted family figure, Ishida's sensual desires led him into the arms of mistresses, embracing a life of indulgence. When he crossed paths with Sada, both damaged souls found a twisted solace in each other's suffering. Their relationship was a storm of obsession and control. They were bound by a connection that went beyond passion. Sada's fear of losing Ishida to another woman drove her to extreme possessiveness. Their encounters, which were supposed to be fleeting moments of passion, quickly turned into marathons of intimacy. Again, Sada's obsession was at its climax towards May 1936. She could not tolerate the thought of some other girl such as Aki being close to Ishida, and she knew that the only certain way to keep him to herself was to wed him. A final night of lovemaking, and on May 18, 1936, Sada took a knife and performed an act that would scandalize Japan. During a particularly intense and disturbing sexual encounter, Sada Abe took their already twisted relationship to a horrifying extreme. Using her obi, the traditional kimono sash, she began to strangle Kichizo Ishida, who had a penchant for domination during sex. For 2 agonizing hours, Sada tightened the sash around his neck, pushing their dark and dangerous affair to an unimaginable limit. When Sada finally stopped, Ishida, in a state of agony, took a large dose of sedatives to numb the pain. As he drifted into unconsciousness, he uttered a haunting request. "If you start to strangle me, don't stop, because it is so painful afterwards." As he lay unconscious, Sada wrapped the obi around his neck once more and completed the grim task, strangling him to death. But she didn't stop there. In a final frantic outburst, she grabbed a knife and, in a shocking act of madness, mutilated Ishida. Without a second thought, she tried to consume the severed parts before wrapping them in a cloth and fleeing the scene. When Ishida's body was discovered, the nation was thrust into horror. The media quickly labeled it the Sada Abe incident, sparking both fascination and revulsion. For Sada Abe, there was no remorse, only a twisted sense of triumph. She believed she had seized ultimate control over the man she loved, even in death. Sada Abe was captured in Kyoto on May 20, 1936, after a nationwide manhunt. She surrendered without resistance, was still smiling radiantly when she was arrested, and led police to Ishida's severed genitalia. In a chilling revelation, she described her act as lifting a heavy burden, claiming it brought her a perverse sense of freedom. This tragic case reveals how profound emotional pain and relentless abuse can distort reality and drive someone to commit horrific acts. The police were taken aback by Sada's demeanor. During interrogation, her eyes sparkled with a disturbing excitement as she explained her motives. "I loved him so much. I wanted him all to myself, but since we weren't married, he could be embraced by other women. I knew that if I killed him, no other woman could ever touch him again. So I killed him." Sada's trial drew massive public interest, with opinions sharply divided. Some viewed her as a monster, driven by jealousy and obsession, while others saw her as a tragic figure, a victim of societal pressures that pushed her to madness. In December 1936, Sada was sentenced to 6 years in prison. After serving 4 years, she was released on parole in 1941 and retreated from the public eye. She lived out the rest of her days in anonymity, working as a waitress and hostess in a modest neighborhood restaurant. Sada Abe's story is a dark exploration of love, insanity, and the shadows within the human spirit. She defied societal norms, creating a legacy that is both revered and condemned, a haunting chapter in Japanese history. Her case resonates with other instances of women driven to extreme violence, like Tessie Wall and Lorena Bobbitt, but unlike them, Sada's crime stemmed not from vengeance, but from a distorted form of love rooted in a troubled past. Japan's obsession with Sada Abe runs deep, shaped by a culture that demands women be submissive. Sada's bold sexuality and defiant spirit clashed violently with these norms, branding her as both a dokufu, a notorious powerful woman, and a succubus, a seductress from dark folklore. Her story is a gripping saga that continues to spark debate and fascination. With at least 6 films and 12 books dedicated to her, Sada Abe's crime stands out as one of Japan's most sensational. It also served as a diversion from the country's escalating military and political issues. What are your thoughts on Sada Abe's story? Share them in the comments. If you found this video compelling, hit the like button and subscribe for more shocking and intriguing tales. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more crimes that shook the world.